Over the years, there have been many movies devoted to the con men. Think of The Sting, The Usual Suspects, and Ocean's 11, just to name a few. The new film Confidence hopes to make its mark alongside those classics, and here is the trailer.
So much for that good feeling, huh?
So who cares if you have to bend the rules a little bit, as long as nobody gets hurt?
Edward Burns, Rachel Weisz, Andy Garcia, and Dustin Hoffman.
Listen up.
Oh my God, you're beautiful.
Hey, what do you say you get the ADD under control? You look me in the eye when I'm talking to you.
Confidence.
You're a good grifter, man. It's hard to tell when you're lying.
It's confidence. Just confidence.
I am pleased to welcome to this table four of the stars of Confidence: Edward Burns, Andy Garcia, Luis Guzman, and Rachel Weisz. I am particularly happy to have them here to talk about this movie on this day. Let me go to you first. You're not acting, you're not directing, you're not producing, you're just acting.
A welcome relief, quite honestly. Yeah. It's nice on those days where we would watch James Foley pulling the hair out of his head because...
Yeah. This is the director of Confidence.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we made the film in 35 days. It's a pretty short schedule for a film of this size. And, you know, when you're the filmmaker, there's so many other things to worry about. But when you're the actor, you get to show up and just focus on that part of that job. And
same thing you did in Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. Well, I learned my lesson on Private Ryan because I knew showing up on that set, I wasn't going to be making any suggestions to Spielberg about where to put the camera. So that worked out all right, so I figured follow suit on this one.
You didn't solicit and you didn't ask.
yeah, exactly.
Who assembled the cast? Foley?
Foley did, yeah. I was the first guy attached, and then I think, were you next, Rachel?
I think so, yeah, I think I was second.
Yeah.
We were all told that we were second. That's
we got Burns, now we got you. Is that what they did?
We always thought of you first.
I mean, this, considering some of the things you've done, this is not a huge role.
No, not in terms of size of number of lines and stuff like that. No.
Yeah.
No.
What intrigued you about the character of the cop?
Well, the part itself, the script was very intriguing to me. The people who were involved. I was not second. I was one of the last of the ensemble probably that came. And I was very intrigued by the material and James Foley's work I enjoyed, and everybody who was involved. He said, this is the makings of something, and it was a script. The irony was that I was not really attracted to the part because it was really underdeveloped, not in terms of size, but really in the way it functioned in the story. You know, I thought it was one of the weaker links in the story. So then I had a flash on how I thought it could sort of fit better, which is hard to talk about because it gives away the movie. But I suggested it to James, and everybody said, yeah, that's great, and we worked on the script a little bit, and then I was eager to jump on board. And once I had sort of I felt there was an arc to the guy and a function to the story. Yeah.
Take a look at this. This is where you are hired. This is the first scene we see from your hired. Take a roll.
Interested in a little work?
Couldn't afford me. Not with $27 and a maxed out Visa, John. Or is it Tom or Bill? Hard to tell with so many IDs.
Yeah, well, the name's Jake. All right, don't flatter yourself, sweetheart. That's one thing I've never had to pay for, and I don't consider it work.
Guess you got the wrong girl then.
In all the stuff that's written about this movie, there are two things. One, you can't get any of you guys really to talk much about what happens in the plot. That's number one. Number two is this notion that between a con man and the talents he or she need are the same as the talents that an actor needs. What is this about?
I heard someone say a good con man has to be...
You think that's true, Louis?
Totally true.
Oh, yeah. No, I think we're motivated by two totally different things.
Of course, clearly the motivations, but
money.
does it require the same ability to convince someone that you're someone else?
Yeah,
Right.
we're first cousins, actors and con men. Actors and con men and con men actors. Yeah, we're in it for different, we have different moral purposes.
I'm the idealist of the group.
Yeah, I can tell right away. Wait till they see the movie.
Exactly.
But Ed?
Yeah, I think, you know, the con man has to be a good actor,
Yeah.
or is going to be an unsuccessful con man. I think the actor, I don't know that it's, because people say, oh, our actors con men. I haven't figured out exactly.
Yes!
It depends maybe on the job you're doing.
Yeah.
You
Con
know,
is the word that barred.
If you're in that
bothers Andy,
sci-fi
but-
movie, you got to be a con man.
Yeah, but in order to be a good con man, you got to be successful at your con.
Yeah.
You know, so that also becomes part of our craft too.
Yeah. What was the hardest thing about acting for you to learn? I mean, because you do it so well.
The hardest thing, just giving those words some life, you know, and understanding that process. I don't know, just...
But did you learn it? How did you learn that?
I guess the best example I could give you of that was the scene I did with Dustin Hoffman, and he gave me some off-camera lines early on in my career, and he didn't say anything that was scripted, and I had a choice of saying that wasn't the line or just go with it, and I went with it, and I learned right then and there to trust my instincts and just go with it.
What film was this, or what was this?
Family Business.
Really?
Yeah.
And he told you, trust your instincts.
No, I mean, that just came through what he did, and that's what happened inside of me, trusting my instincts. And because, again, it was early on in my career, so, you know, here's this guy, Dustin Hoffman, throwing me these lines that I'm not scripted, and I'm not going to, that's not the line, cut.
He probably didn't want to. He probably didn't want to say them, so he gave them to you.
Oh my goodness! But I'll tell you what, I grew up 10 years in that one moment, so
Yeah.
you know.
You were saying cut though, and
No, I'm saying I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I just went and
You went
gave
with
him
it.
back the line.
Well, you know that famous story about George Raft that he had when at the peak of his talent, he came into this room, he was like starring in this movie about a bunch of gangsters, and he came into the room and he had a long monologue at the beginning of the movie saying, okay, here's the plan. Eddie, you're going to take the right, you're going to take the, and he had this long to set up the film, and he came on the day and he said to the director, I have a thought about this movie. He said, yes, whatever, Mr. Raff, what would you like? He goes, well, let me just show it to you. He comes to the room, he goes, all right, boys, here's the plan. Louis, tell him. And he gave all the exposition to the other guys.
That's a great story. All right, take a look. This is another clip from Confidence Man. From Confidence. Here it is. This is where you and meet Dustin Hoffman. Here it is.
Than yours. Why am I enjoying this so much, Jake? Because I feel like she is, too. I'm sorry. I know that was tasteless, dear. I was just trying to make a point to Jake.
How much of that was improvised?
A lot. I mean, it's
Mainly Dustin or all of you?
Well, what happens when one person improvises? Well, when one person improvises, he forces the others to improvise.
You have to respond.
Which is exactly what you were just saying, and that's the incredible thing about working with Dustin. Is why I too learned so much from working with him.
Oh yeah.
He's a wild card. He doesn't stick to the script. He throws you lines, and you can't really act. You just have to. You just react to whatever he's giving you. So everybody's. Well, actually, I don't think I said anything. I was just like flabbergasted by him.
I read this, and you just mentioned it to me. The original part was a guy who was a mobster.
Yeah.
Who, not attractive and weighed about 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Dustin came in and said,
well, the whole idea with that character was he had to be this physically threatening character. Foley and I was sitting down one day trying to figure out who do you get to play that part, and we both thought Dustin Hoffman. And it wouldn't be the obvious choice, but for very selfish reasons, we wanted to work with Dustin. So they sent Dustin the script. He looked at it and said, okay, kind of like your part. I can't really do this, what's here, but the script is interesting enough. Let me sit down and talk with you. And then we started this long rehearsal process where Dustin had to figure out the physical threat. And since he couldn't use his size, he kind of came up with some of what you just saw in that scene, that sort of
menacing,
sexual,
intelligent.
That was kind of in the part,
there was a little bit of that
quality of the character.
Yeah, but he really pushed
He took that and ran with it. Yeah.
I mean, certainly the stuff with Rachel that you saw in the scene was not in the script. And,
No.
Yeah, he stripped away everything. He goes, this is the part here. Strip everything away. Let's go with that.
Well, he tells a great story about he was trying to figure out how is he going to define this guy. And he said he had taken his dog to a dog park with his daughter. He had a male dog, and another male dog came up to his dog and started to hump his dog. And he was confused. Is his dog a homosexual? Can dogs be homosexuals? What are you talking about? It has nothing to do with sexuality. It has to do with intimidation and dominance. And he goes, that's my character.
Yeah, let me take a look at this, and we'll take a look at a scene that Andy is in. Before I do that, they tell me you have to run because we got a little bit late started here. I don't know whether you know this or not. But if people come back and she's not here, my information was correct.
She's not with Dustin.
She's not with Dustin. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Congratulations on this film.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here and great to meet you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Roll tape. Here's the clip.
Why are you looking at me that way, Lloyd? Not everybody's on the take.
Look, if you feds are so hot for the sky, why don't you just let us go out? We'll bring them in. That's it.
A fox is not a fox until he's caught in the hen house.
Oh, nice. What is that, an analogy?
Metaphor.
Actually, it's neither, but it is a good deal. You guys go clean, I get peace of mind, and better yet, Lloyd's daughter here gets to keep her braces and have that winning smile just like her daddy.
This character, what did you do with it? The beard, the whole
Well, first it started like
creation.
we talked about
Right.
how he functioned in the story,
Right.
which is hard to say because it kind of,
Right.
we sort of rewrote that thing once they liked the idea. But then there was a scene at the beginning. He was just, the FBI man in a blue suit.
Right.
But the genre of the movie sort of, there's an homage to these kind of characters that if you look back on these kind of movies, you can have a little fun with. And as written, there was a scene where me and Eddie first meet in the story, which took place in Tampa. And I had visited Tampa and Ybor City in the 60s with my father. I had my godfather and my godfather's father were from there. And when I read Tampa, I had this image of people from Tampa that were in my, and I just took off on that tangent.
The straw hat and the whole...
Yeah, and the seersucker and the cigars that are, they just, my imagination kind of ran away with itself. So I showed James Foley some Polaroids. I dressed him up, and I said, I like this is, and he went for it because he's very embracive of kind of that kind of thing. And,
he listens and is prepared to change.
Yeah. I mean, we changed a lot. So
he's great. There isn't a more enthusiastic director, I think, for actors. I mean, after every take, regardless if it was your worst take, he found something in it that he loved.
Great.
You know?
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, so it was fun. I really got. I felt really comfortable in this character. I really enjoyed it. We want to play them again.
Oh, I heard that. Did you two want to work with Foley and with Ed and others?
We'd like to do this
with
this
the repeat
scam.
of the same confidence.
Sure,
people.
why not?
Yeah, it's the Sting too, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with it.
Rachel mentioned doing a lot of research by looking at a lot of memoir, Gloria Graham and other people like that. Do you look at films? I mean, the characters that you create.
A lot of my stuff really comes from my own life, like growing up on the Lower East Side, standing on the corner, watching someone talk on the phone, whether they're arguing or whatever, just watching people walk down the street, all the people that I work with in the neighborhood, or the young people that I work with, the mothers, the fathers, the situations. That's where I draw a lot of, what I do. That's what I bring.
I mean, do you think you've always had a good ear for dialogue and for listening and hearing? I mean, is that part of the skill set you have?
I think it's something that, for me in this business, has developed over time, and just implementing those tools, making all those tools a part of me, and coming out with the performance.
You want to act more? Are you going to go back to directing? Or what?
I had such a good time on this film, and I think I'm finally getting the acting. I didn't have any formal acting training either,
Right,
so it was sort of a matter of...
Sort of made your own movie.
Yeah, and just trusting your own instincts on the set. But the more you work with those guys, and when he was saying before about Dustin, it really is, I had to learn to listen. Being a writer, director who also acted, I was so married to the script that when I started to act in other people's films, the thing I had to learn how to do was to listen. And when you start to work with Hanks or De Niro or Hoffman, these guys, they do that thing. They play with you and play with the scene, trying to bring out a different level of honesty. I mean, Dustin has a great line about directors, because there are two kind of directors: those that want you to surprise them on the set, and those that don't. Dustin is clearly one of those actors that is looking for that, and I think it changed my whole approach to acting, and I finally fell in love with acting in this movie. So I'll probably do more acting than filmmaking.
But
the
what
next
was it
couple of
about
years.
this movie? Because I mean, you think about Private Ryan and then working with Hanks and working with...
I think in the past, maybe it was just a matter of confidence in my ability. I started as a writer-director, and the acting, I always took roles that were... I could play a variation of my own personality. In this film, I couldn't do that, and that was sort of the exciting thing and the challenge in taking the part. No one ever offered me this kind of guy before. I always played sort of the working class guy, So that was a challenge where I finally felt, okay, I'm ready to tackle a different guy in a different kind of film. And it's the first time in my adult life I wasn't writing a screenplay. I left my laptop at home and said, show up on the set with the same kind of focus you have when you're filmmaking. And I think, that kind of focus pays off.
Thank you. Good.
You're welcome.
Good movie.
Thank you very
Great
much.
to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time.